As promised, we've got the Chief Security Officer of Texas A&M University, Kevin Gamache, on the phone with us. Kevin, thanks for joining us on The Voice of Texas.
You're most welcome.
Well, Kevin, you'll be happy to know we have your mugshot up, right? Okay.
Well,
right.
yes.
Along with ours, okay, on our I guess on our casting at this point in time. And Kevin, and also with Trey and Tam, some really good folks came down and testified at my higher education committee hearing about really the threats of the theft of intellectual property across the institutions of higher learning in the state, general academic institutions, healthcare institutions, and you're the head of effectively of the research council that's trying to block it. So, Kevin, what say you, Mr. Chairman, about how bad of a problem is this?
It's a significant issue, and if I could back up to kind of frame what's happening. When you look at what the purpose of a research university is, it's to advance the state of knowledge and to create that intellectual property. And, there are several things that have allowed us as academic institutions in the United States to be the best in the world. And, those things are our openness, our willingness to embrace international collaboration, transparency, reciprocity. All of those things have made our research enterprise the best in the world. But for the last 2 decades, at least, we've had adversaries that have methodically co-opted every one of those strengths to the point that our greatest strengths have now become our biggest vulnerabilities, and that's the challenge we face. Our openness is being taken advantage of. Foreign adversaries, China in particular, are using international collaboration to get access to our labs and our intellectual property. And it's a tough situation because we are trying to address an adversary that very often is part of what we do in our labs every day. So it is a challenge.
And Kevin, this is where it's really uniquely a challenge because you've got China, who is our largest trading partner, as well as an absolute adversary on this issue, because if they can, either by internet, by assets, whatever, steal intellectual property, especially before that is published and secured. They get years of free research for literally nothing. And obviously it's, China is the number one problem, but you do have incursions from others, Russians, Iranian, etc. But you laid out a statistic that was simply eye-popping about what the pressurization from China in this area with a number of 92%. Why don't you explain to the folks what that means?
Yeah, that was just based upon our experience within the Texas A&M system over the past decade, that in terms of the volume of issues that we are dealing with, 9 out of 10 of those issues are coming from a single country. And when you look at other data sources, whether it be NIH or NSF, or when I talk to my peers at other institutions, that is pretty consistent, that 90% of the issues by volume are coming from a single country.
Hey, Kevin, Ben Streusand, thanks for joining us on The Voice of Texas. So just to recap for our audience, you are responsible for providing data security for the Texas A&M University System and preventing outside parties from hacking proprietary research data that Texas A&M has. That's basically a short explanation of your job.
Not gated security, but security of our processes and procedures that protect a $1.6 billion research enterprise that is the Texas A&M University System.
He's also head of the Research Council, Ben, of all the academic institutions and healthcare institutions.
And so what you're saying is 92% of the cyber attacks that you are experiencing are coming from one country whose name begins with the letter C.
It's not attacks. It's, I think, attempts at theft, right,
Yeah,
Kevin? Is the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Attempts at theft.
And to be clear, we have a cyber team that does that. That's not part of my office. We work closely with them. But just in terms of visiting scholars or co-authored publications, foreign travel. Collectively, we review several thousand individual cases in a month, and the volume of all of those things collectively, 90% of it has to deal with China.
And is there any target that stands out? In other words, are they interested in research on agricultural seeds? Are they interested in research on rocket fuel? I mean, what is it? Is there anything you can tell us about the targets of the intellectual property theft?
Sure, it's broad, and China publishes a number of documents. China 2025 is one of them. They publish a 5-year plan. And they identify what their technology needs are in those documents, and there's a direct correlation between what's in those documents and the kind of activity we see across our universities and state agencies. So it runs the gamut from agriculture to hypersonics to you name it.
Hypersonic wind tunnels research. And Kevin, we had Trey actually, who was part of the panel, and also Tam was from Rice. And it's not just the research institutions, even though the classically, as you would say, general academic institutions, these healthcare institutions are getting hammered with these attacks too. And this is MD Anderson cancer, Ben.
Yeah.
Because, look, if somebody could steal a cure to cancer, wow, what's that worth? Okay. I mean, the amount of, and I asked this in the committee, the amount of intellectual property that they're trying to protect in Texas alone is over $100 billion. Kevin, do you have an estimate of how much? And just one researcher that gets co-opted at, if it ever happened at MD Anderson, or they get a file dumped on them about how to have a, cure to COVID or whatever else, cancer, I mean, that's enormous amount of money. I mean, you could be looking at $1 trillion steal here. Am I underestimating it?
The number that I've heard quoted from the FBI is $600 billion a year.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's cheaper to steal than it is to try to, reverse engineer.
It's also faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to that point, we're talking about intellectual property. Very often, it's information or products that have not even risen to that level of intellectual property yet. A lot of it is just basic research, but when you think about it, if they can get access to the basic research that we've done, they can skip a whole step in the research process, take our basic research and move on to the applications. So, they just leapfrog the process by doing that. So it's not just things that have already been developed to the point that they are intellectual property from a legal standpoint. It's they're casting a very wide net.
Okay, and we had this discussion because of House Bill 127. The author, who's my counterpart, Terry Wilson, who is the higher education chair in the House, he's the one that wrote the bill, and basically, Kevin, tell the folks. Well, I don't want to give away the farm so that somebody knows a new technique on how you're catching all this, but give everybody the basics of what the council's trying to do, the success you've had so far. And obviously the fact that we're all having to up our game to keep up with this onslaught, because this is cyber theft, this is intel, personal assets, this is trying to snare people, their information when they're on a trip. I mean, there's a lot of spycraft involved in all this.
That's right. If I was to characterize broadly what we're trying to do with the Higher Education Research Security Council, and that council is comprised of my counterparts at the other 6 Texas University Systems.
UT, Texas Tech, U of H, right, UNT, right, everybody, Texas State.
And then the 5 big private research universities in Texas, and then our either medical or health science counterparts as well. So there's 17 members on the council, and what we are trying to do in essence is to create a culture of research security, so that everybody in the enterprise is working towards the same goal. And we're doing that by creating training. We're doing that by creating policy solutions that can be shared across Texas higher education. We are doing it by creating best practices that have been proven at individual universities, but sharing them more widely. We are really trying to pull out all the stops to create that culture, to put the processes and procedures in place across Texas, and to put up our best defense against what is really a retractable adversary.
Right, which is, 92% China. And last question, Tim, so without, naming names, obviously, but you've had some stops already. You've been able to turn some of this back, some of the already by these best practices and culture of, research security already?
That's correct.
And enough to where do you think that China notices that you're around now? Do they know you guys are there?
There's no doubt about that. And what they are doing is adapting their methodology. So we have to be as agile as they are and continue to adapt as well.
Well, that's what will be your motto, because you've got to continue to adapt. So thanks so much, Kevin, for joining us. That's Kevin Gamache, who is the Associate Chancellor at Texas A&M University System on the security side himself, but also the chair of the 17-member higher education panel that we've got on research security in the state. So, Kevin, thanks for joining us. And if you've got big developments like that we can talk about, we'll have you back.
All right. Sounds great.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thanks, Kevin, for the update. I know listeners want to know because China, they're always out there. They're always looking.
Yeah. And your job is about to get a lot harder with the new AI models, or so I hear.
One for each other and all for one. The three brave amigos are we.